Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you are notified every week with my new podcast on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you haven't already, join the free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There is no downside. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health, and you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey. And in addition, you are going to take control of your health for the first time maybe in your life. The protocols and supplements I discuss are all found at SaraBantaHealth.com. Today we are talking about one of my favorite topics with one of my favorite people, Heather Hiniker. She's not just one of my favorite guests, but literally one of my favorite people in this world, and you know why. Heather, welcome. How are you today?
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. The feelings are mutual, obviously.
Well, we are talking about something that your clients and my clients can get very frustrated over: body composition. We've been taught to look at that bathroom scale as a measurement of our worth in life. A lot of people will stand on that scale and go, oh my gosh, I'm up a pound. My day's over. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I just don't even want to get out of bed. I don't want to go work out. Whatever it is, their whole feeling about themselves can be predicted by this measurement that means nothing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get into that, especially as we age, because I was just talking to a friend who, look on the outside, she's small framed, she's petite. You and I would never think that she has changed in her body composition at all since she was 20. And she was told by the doctor, Sarah, I'm skinny fat. I don't know what just happened. Like, my weight hasn't changed, but the doctor's saying that I have too much body fat, which then causes insulin resistance and risks of other morbidity and shortened longevity. Most men and women lose muscle mass and bone. Both are very heavy. They gain fat. Fat weighs less than muscle. They increase inflammation as they age. All of these things don't really affect the scale. And personally, I've gone down on the scale, and you know this, Heather, showing weight loss, but I've actually lost muscle, gained fat weight, gained water retention, or the wrong water, right? And we're going to get into the wrong and the right water. And for most people, the scale can go up 10 to 15 pounds in a day, depending on, are you constipated? What did you eat last night? And all of these things. And so I wanted to first go into a couple definitions before we get into the scan. What are the different body types? Ectomorph. Ectomorphs are long, lean people with little body fat and little muscle. They have a hard time gaining weight. You've got the endomorphs. They have a lot of body fat and lots of muscle, and they gain weight easily. Then you've got the mesomorphs. Those are athletic people, solid, strong. They tend to be able to lose weight and gain weight easily. They don't really worry about their weight. Wouldn't we love to be them? So regardless of your natural body composition and genetics, there are things that you can do to change your body composition. But I want to first look at why you want to give those scales to your worst enemy or throw them in the trash. Number one, intracellular water. So why don't you talk about what that means? What's intracellular water? Because that can make the scale go up, but this is in a healthy way.
Yep. Intracellular water is the water that we want. It's actually the water within our cell membranes. So within the cells, the healthier we are, the more absorbent or permeable our cells are. So we're allowing things like nutrients, water, oxygen to get into the cells. And so when you have healthy levels of that intracellular level or that intracellular water, that's the goal. And then there's extracellular water, right? So that's water on the outside of our cells, but it's our interstitial fluids and blood compose of the extracellular water. And it's actually an indicator of inflammation. The higher that is, the more systemic inflammation people tend to have. And so when we go over today, you know, what we're using to quantify and look at someone's body composition, we're evaluating all of that. And it gives us a good gauge of where people are starting out as far as inflammation goes.
On my website, for those interested to dive deeper into that, I have an article on bloat, whether you're getting bloated in the face or bloated in the gut. But the bloat in the face is a sign that you had the wrong sodium, maybe in a dinner out to dinner or McDonald's or something like that, where you're just taking in sodium, the salts that are stripped away from all the other minerals, and that's going to give you a lot of extracellular water. Whereas if you take something like an electrolyte mix or the accelerated ancient salt that's full of all the minerals, all 62 minerals, that's helping with your intracellular water, and you are then getting a balance of the proper sodium, potassium, magnesium, and chloride levels. And I've talked about how when my son was 16 years old, his heart was stopping, and that was because he was overworking out without supplementing with the proper electrolytes. And there's a sodium potassium pump inside and outside the cell that helps the fluid and the nutrients and the toxins go in and out of the cell. Well, this is what we're talking about, the intracellular water. That is why it's so important. You can get dehydrated by drinking too much plain water. So that's not going to help with your intracellular water. You need the proper elements and minerals to do that. So that's one thing that can increase the scales or decrease them without telling you what's going on in the body. The next is weightlifting. It is known that if you are weightlifting and you lift that morning, you are pumping up fluid, blood, volume into the muscles, and the muscles are going to retain a little bit of extra water temporarily. The scale might go up. But that's not telling you that your muscles increasing and your body fat might be going down. So that's another reason not to look at just the scale. Eating the wrong healthy foods. So we all know that if you go out to dinner and you have a chicken salad with the dressing on the side, and you stand on the scale, which I know everyone listening, this has happened to with some sort of meal like that. And they go, this doesn't make sense. The scale's up. Why is it up? Well, number one, if you gain more than a pound in a day, it's usually your body telling you that you may have had a food intolerance to something that you just ate. This feedback is positive. I look at it as a positive way in teaching you about your own body that, okay, I thought I ate healthy. I probably only ate 500 calories. That doesn't make sense. We know you need to eat more calories to gain actual fat. Maybe the food contains sulfur, oxalates, lectins, too much fat, or the amyloid proteins that I talk about that are healthy, but that could trigger bloat or constipation or swelling, the water retention, poor digestion. All of those things could make the scale go up, but it's not telling you the full story. And we talked about the extracellular water, so that can be triggered by some of those other things and some of the things that Heather's talked about. Weather change, just from going, in Southern California, we've gone from having the sun out and being in 70-degree weather to mornings that are in the 40s and all of this rain that's brought us out of the drought that we supposedly have, right? But that shift can cause your body to retain water. And there's supplements to help move that water out of your body. But just the barometric pressure shifting can actually cause inflammation in the body, causing water retention. The new moon and the full moon. I have friends that will text me, Sara, is it the new moon or full moon? Because I'm retaining water out of nowhere and I don't deserve it. And they want an excuse for why that scale has gone up, which I've told them not to weigh themselves, right? Well, the new moon and the full moon, they move the tides of the earth. So why do we think it's not going to move the tides in our own water balance in our system? So that is something to look at. Also, the full moon and the new moon can cause you to be constipated. Constipation. We have a family joke that, oh my gosh, just went to the bathroom. I think I lost 5 pounds. There is something to that. If you are constipated, all of that impacted stool is just dead weight, and that's not fat. It is not water. It's not muscle, but it is causing a recirculation of your toxins, which I talk about in other areas, and we can't get into that today. But if you're constipated, that's something to look into as well. Okay, so now if we're not looking to the scale for our body composition and some biofeedback, Heather, what should we look to? This InBody scan, and I know there's the DEXA, I know there's a lot of other machines out there, and InBody even has a couple different versions.
Yes.
But let's talk about InBody in general, and then also what is the 770 and how does it compare to other measurement devices?
So people are probably familiar with InBody devices. A lot of gyms have the 270 model and the 570 model. These are models that are actually just doing the body composition. So the fat versus muscle ratios. The InBody 770, the reason I made the investment to bring it in is because I'm not a doctor, so I'm not taking markers like blood, but I needed to see where people's inflammation was, and then more importantly, a measurement called phase angle. And you hear Sara and I talk about that a lot. It's a true indicator of health. It's basically the permeability factor of your cell walls. And why that's important is you think, so phase angle measurements, they say they can, in a human body, they can go anywhere from 1 to 20. Okay, but I want to put this in perspective for you because I have done thousands of these analysis. I've never seen a phase angle above 8. Okay, so I want to make that clear. I'm pretty confident that when we're babies, our phase angles are in the double digits. So haven't tested a baby yet, but when I get the opportunity, and a parent will let me, I will definitely look at it. But you think when you're a baby, your cells are performing optimally, right? What does that mean? That means the permeability or the membranes are allowing all the good stuff to get in. And then more importantly, as we were talking about, the bad stuff to get out. What happens as we age is our cell walls or the membranes around our cells become more hardened and rigid. So now the good things getting in, like the water, the oxygen, the nutrients, have a harder time. But more importantly, the waste and toxins have a harder time getting out. And as those start to compile, they turn into inflammation. They're starting to do studies on low-level chronic inflammation and how it really is the root of most diseases. So if we can keep the integrity and the permeability of our cell walls optimal, that's the goal. And, the reason that I actually got the InBody 770 is because I wanted to prove not only were we trying to maintain that marker, because that marker is typically something that only goes down with age. We are able to prove that it's going up. So my personal story, I've had this business for about 13 years. I've had my InBody 770 for about 5 of those years. So before we got it, I'd been doing this. My rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis was already in remission. I was doing my technologies every day. And so when I first measured myself, I was a 5.8. So women usually average between a 4 and a 6. And so 5.8, I was happy with that, in my early 40s at the time. And then fast forward almost the 5 years, I'm 47, I'm at a 6.3 when everything's going good. And with the phase angle on healthy people, it will go down, say if you're sick. So in someone that's healthy, you will see it fluctuate if someone is ill. For females during the menstrual cycle, I mean, same thing when we were talking about the extracellular water, that's something that's affected during the menstrual cycle as well. So we do see that kind of shift, but it's usually within a couple 0.01, 0.02. It's nothing significant. Men usually average between a 5 and 7. So like I said, the highest I've ever seen was in the low 8s, and that was on a 16-year-old professional male athlete. I have never seen it higher when someone is above 16. And then the lowest we've seen here is in the 3s. And typically that is with a diagnosis. So when I see someone in the low 3s, and then I also look at their inflammation levels, because they go hand in hand. Obviously, the lower the phase angle measurement is, typically the higher the inflammation level is, because it's not allowing the bad stuff out, not allowing the good stuff in. And so when someone comes in with a diagnosis, say, I don't even know if we should say diagnosis is on here. Just think of the worst as far as when inflammation, it comes to inflammation and it turns into something, and there's different stages. So stage 4 of that type of inflammation, if someone comes in with that, their phase angles in the 3s and their inflammation markers are through the roof on the other side of the chart. And so that's something that we look at. But again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm never diagnosing someone or going. I know over the thousands of InBody analysis that we've done, what to look for and what we see on average. And then what we can see that's not average when people are super, super healthy, or when they're, in their 20s and look like they have measurements of someone in their 70s.
A couple things I want to emphasize, even just being exposed as a mom and very intuitive with my daughters, when they're cycling, it affects my phase angle. Mm-hmm. So if you think about how in tune and intricate are, especially female special bodies, men are a little more straightforward. There's so many factors to take into what's going on in your body. The other thing I wanted to just touch on, my son, who was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 9, we looked at his blood underneath the microscope. We didn't have an InBody to tell us the phase angle of his cells, but when you looked at his cells underneath the microscope, they were all clumped up together, and they all had spikes on them. So if you think about the rigidity of the cell wall, and that's an indicator of the phase angle of the cells, his phase angle was probably very low. And I can tell you, all of the nutrients were not getting into his cells and the toxins were not getting out. Now, fast forward, my son has been on the InBody, and according to Heather, I don't know what his number was, but she was like, you couldn't do any better. So there is progression. There's a way to reverse anything out there. So this is just a great tool to use, not just about what your weight is, but what's really going on in your body, because you don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy to lose weight. So when your cells are healthy, then everything else will fall into place. So now I want to get into supplements, diet protocols to improve the body composition. And we can talk about what Heather has also seen with her clients. But we have both done the Ascent Diet Cleanse, and it is why it is called the Ascent Diet Cleanse, because Heather and I put it together. The accelerated keto is the number one supplement in helping turn the body into ketosis, so you're burning fat for energy. Why is this important? You are going to start burning that excess body fat. It flips you into saying, okay, now I've got thousands of calories on my body to burn. Let's not crave the sugar and the carbs. We're going to reduce inflammation, suppress appetite while maintaining muscle mass, increasing bone density and high levels of stable energy. And that was another thing that I wanted to touch on, is that the InBody looks at your bone and your bone weight and your lean mass weight and your fat-free weight. All of those things include, or Heather, I want you to add in, where does bone come into there? Because when you are in a state of ketosis, your body naturally will build stronger bones and maintain and prevent any muscle mass loss, because it's going straight to burning the fat. And then you're reducing the inflammation, which is reducing the extracellular water. So where does bone density get measured in the InBody scan?
It's in the skeletal muscle mass. So there's an actual area on the InBody that says skeletal muscle mass in pounds. And so it will take into account your bones, your organs, and your muscle. And then, as you were saying, lean mass is pretty much everything. It's your bones, your skin, your organs, your muscle. It's everything minus fat, the water in your body. So it's the lean mass is a little bit more because it's also including the water in the body. And there was something I wanted to say on this particular InBody 770. It will do a segmental lean analysis, which I love going over because it does each segment of your body. So it'll do your right arm, left arm, your core or your trunk, and then your right leg and your left leg. Well, it'll tell you how many pounds you have in each segment, but more importantly is a percentage underneath that. And that percentage is basically the capacity per which that area of your body can support the rest of your body. So if you take, for example, legs, when we have elderly people come in, say they're in their 80s, and we're looking at, okay, this is how many pounds of muscle you have in your legs, but look, your legs are only 70% capable of supporting the rest of your body. What does that mean? Well, if their legs aren't capable of supporting them, they're prone to falls. And we know the crazy statistics on falls, when someone falls over 65 years old. So it's really important to keep that skeletal muscle mass strong. And I have seen with numerous clients when they're employing or integrating certain supplements from SARA or some of the patches, their muscle mass actually increase, but that capacity for which each segment of the body can support is also increasing. So when they were in the 70s, they moved up to the 80s and then the 90 percentile. Obviously, it's harder as we age to gain muscle, but with certain supplements and the patches and lifestyle changes, you can see a pretty significant shift in that skeletal muscle mass.
Well, and let's talk about the visceral fat and the trunk fat. I mean, that is a huge indicator for other metabolic diseases and also longevity.
Yes. So the InBody 770 also will measure visceral fat, which is the unhealthy fat that surrounds our organs. Now, we do need a little bit of visceral fat to protect our organs. So we don't want it to be zero or off the scale, but the InBody manufacturer always wants it to be below 100 centimeters squared. And then there's this little range that we look at depending on what age you are, where you should be and where you're optimal. Significantly, like one of the fastest things that I've ever seen affect visceral fat is the Ascent Diet Cleanse, Sarah's cleanse. So we'll have people come in before the cleanse and they'll get their baseline. We'll see where their visceral fat is. We'll see where their phase angle is and their inflammation levels. And then 30 days after, I have seen that visceral fat drop as much as 30 centimeters squared. I think one person did 35 centimeters squared in 30 days. I mean, think about how significant that is. And, visceral fat is lifestyle, right? It's what you're eating. It's what you're drinking or not drinking. It is your activity level. And so you can tell, like when someone comes in and they're skinny fat and you wouldn't really think, they might have a little pooch, but you wouldn't think they were overweight. They can be carrying a lot of unhealthy fat around the organs. And I've seen that. In fact, when the visceral fat is above 200 centimeters squared, I actually need to tell someone that they should probably go to the doctor because they're kind of on the verge of something catastrophic. I've seen it as high as 290 centimeters squared.
Wow.
So
yes,
it's something to keep on.
Yeah, and visceral fat and fatty liver tend to go hand in hand. If you can't see your belly button, usually you have fatty liver or too much visceral fat, and it's high fructose corn syrup, the processed foods, all of I don't care if you're paleo, vegan, keto, whatever it is, we all know that those processed foods and the high carbs and the high sugars, the refined sugars, and the fructose, that is what's causing the fatty liver and the visceral fat and insulin resistance. So insulin resistance, inflammation, the two things that are going to accelerate your age. So the accelerated keto is not only just going to tap into your own fat stores, but it's also has ingredients in it to break down the saturated fats in the body into unsaturated fats, and this will help you burn that visceral fat around the belly and the liver fat that accumulates more easily as we age. And the more your liver is defatted and unclogged, the easier it is for the liver to break down the fat molecules. And I was just telling Heather that I've been doing back-to-back liver flushes this last month within a week of each other. And the spark of energy in my thyroid and my metabolism has just shot through the roof. I can feel it, and I can feel my liver clean and breaking down my meals so much better. Whereas sometimes you feel like that food's just sitting there. Well, with the spike protein and with all of the GMOs and everything else that our body is being bombarded with, our livers are being backed up and having a more difficult time breaking down protein and fats. You've got to keep your liver clean. So the liver flush part of the Ascent Diet Cleanse is imperative, but just the accelerated keto is cleansing the liver on a daily basis. And then it's improving your thyroid hormones, which is helping with your metabolism. Then you've got the acceleradine, which increases ATP by 18 times. That is your cellular energy, and that is going to help with intracellular water, metabolism, caloric burn, brain function, fat burning, healthy apoptosis, and that apoptosis is the destruction of the diseased and cancer cells. All of these factors may move the scale up or down without reflecting improvement on a body composition. So that ATP is imperative to focus on. And then, of course, acceleradine helps speed up the metabolism and helps with your thyroid, because your thyroid needs that iodine for T4 and T3, tyrosine and 3 and 4 molecules of iodine. Then you've got the accelerated thyroid that is going to combine 3 different modalities: glandular therapy, Ayurvedic supplements, and the scalar frequencies to heal the thyroid, detox the thyroid. With all the toxins that we are being bombarded with, it is going to, those toxins love to be stuck in the thyroid, slowing the thyroid down. I don't care what you do for a workout, what you eat, and Heather and I have talked about this even between us. It doesn't matter if your thyroid's not working, the weight's not going to come off. The body's going to accumulate fat, and it's also going to reverse that T4 into reverse T3, which is a survival hormone that tells your body, okay, I'm under attack. We need to slow down the metabolism. We need to gain fat weight. Why do we want visceral fat and fat as protection? We want to protect our organs from the gunshot or the tiger coming after us that's going to take a bite out of us. That's the reason for that visceral fat. It is a survival mechanism. So if you're gaining this belly fat, especially, that is a sign that your body is under too much stress. And we need to look at lifestyle and stress factors in addition to other modalities to change this body composition. So then you've got the accelerated detox powder, which reduces inflammation, helps coat the stomach and intestinal lining, helps with regularity. So that constipation factor, when we're talking about weight, it's going to help with that. But it helps soak up those toxins to take away the burden away from the kidneys and the liver, and to pass them through the body very easily on a daily basis. Too much of the xenoestrogens get recycled in the intestines, and then we've got too much estrogen in our body, causing more stress, causing more fatty liver, more visceral fat, more fat storage, all of these things that we are experiencing outside of how many calories we're eating and how much exercise we're doing that really are just one small factor. The accelerated silver as well helps with devitalizing the foreign pathogens in the body that cause fatigue, a slow metabolism, autoimmune issues. And then you want to focus on the electrolytes, like we've talked about with the accelerated accelerated salt, the quintessential 0.9, wild lights, whatever it is. You want to get that intracellular hydration, and you can feel it. There have been studies that have shown just by supplementing with the proper salt will increase your what's the word, when you're when you're working out, you will work out 15 minutes longer with more power just by hydrating with the salt. Then you've got the laxacomfort. Laxacomfort helps with stimulating the bowel movements and getting those toxins out, and also having that not reflected on the scale. So Heather, I want to talk about how the patches can help with body composition. Both you and I use them all. We have introduced them singly and isolated to see how they would change our body compositions. You and I both use the InBody to gauge on these certain things, almost too much. But let's talk about the X49. What have you seen?
So it's a funny story about X49. When it first came out, we were told that we, as women, the most effective spot was on the outside of the knee. And so most of us were putting it there and still using it with the X39 on our C7 every day. And I wasn't noticing much. Well, we did a challenge where there was men and women. The men was suggested to put it under the belly button. And so when people were coming back after the challenge, I wasn't seeing great things for the women, but I was seeing amazing things for the men. And so I'm like, I want to try it under my belly button. And just that shift, as far as, quantifying where my muscle was, I noticed a difference also in my hair again, because it's basically stimulating the AHK copper peptide. And if you look up AHK copper peptide, you can see what it's responsible for as far as, hair, skin, and muscle. And so we've noticed people be able to work out harder, like you're talking about. That's something we hear over and over again from people saying, my trainer's like, what are you doing? Well, the only thing I've changed is incorporating the X49. I can lift more, I'm not only maintaining muscle, but I'm gaining muscle. These are just common things that we hear when people start incorporating that X49 with their X39.
I saw that shift within a week. I saw an ability to do more push-ups, just an ease of my workout. I saw an increase in muscle mass within 1 week. And like I've mentioned before, I don't change much in my diet or my routine, almost to a fault, but it is a good measurement of when I introduce something new. Also, I have to echo what you've seen. A lot of women are suffering from hair loss. It's a huge topic. Hair is growing back with the X49. It's a big part of my hair loss protocol. And bone density. It's helping strengthen the bones. This is something that's important to me. I have osteoporosis in my family. My mom is now using it, which I'm super excited about. But this is helping with your bone density. So you could be gaining bone density and the scale's going up and you're beating yourself up because the weight is going up, but you're actually doing your body some good. And the muscle does weigh more than fat. So when you replace it, just a thought, if you don't have access to the InBody, like we're talking about, just measure how are your pants feeling? Don't use the scale. How are your pants feeling? Are your rings able to come on and off? Are you too swollen with extra cellular inflammation? How does your skin look? How is your hair responding? So the X49 is one of my favorite patches. Energy enhancer, I had to wear them here today to show. Those are two spots, and that's another spot that's my favorite. The energy enhancer patch, love that they help with the caloric burn, the fat loss, the metabolic rate, the fat oxidation. But Heather, tell us more about the energy enhancer.
What really caught my attention when they first did, we were looking at the studies on the energy enhancer. So energy enhancer was the first patch that David Schmidt came out with, actually for Navy SEALs, because obviously they can be up for days on end, and traditionally they were doing things that weren't good for them as far as staying up. And what I've noticed with the energy enhancer, I'm very, very sensitive to anything that stimulates energy. I can't even drink coffee. That's how sensitive I am. And just with putting the energy enhancer on, I get this continued energy release that doesn't feel overstimulating. The study that really caught my attention was its effect on the cellular integrity. So it's actually been proven to help raise our phase angle numbers. And again, phase angle is just the permeability factor, the integrity and health of your cell walls. It's an indicator that typically only goes down with age. And so I truly believe by wearing these energy enhancer patches, on a daily basis, that's also playing a big role in why my phase angle continuously goes up.
And my phase angle has gone up. When I first got my first body scan, with all that I do, it was very low. I'm not even going to tell you what it was. But the problem with me is I've been told I'm a salmon swimming upstream. My body composition, I'm in Ayurvedic medicine. I'm double water. I'm literally fighting all the trends in life. But I think God gave me that profile so that I could do all of these tests on myself and help you guys. Well, the energy enhancer, I felt the same thing. I felt my energy shift up. I felt the caloric burn, but I also felt the increase in the ATP production in the mitochondria. And that is where you get that boost of energy, but it's real energy because it's your own cell's energy. And this, in addition to the acceleradine, in addition to the accelerated keto, though all three of those things increase ATP production. So you have this exponential increase, and that's your cell's health. And that is your longevity. And that is your way to reverse aging, not just anti-age, but actually reverse aging. So I love the energy enhancer. I don't go without them. And they truly do impact the body. In addition to the Ascent Diet Cleanse, it's like this amazing synergistic marriage. The X39, we always say you always want to start with the X39. Tell us why, Heather.
So X39 is, and by the way, I'm sure people listen to the patches, but all of these patches, like when you see them, I don't know if you can see it on my wrist or wherever it is, I'm going backwards, but it looks like it would be a transdermal patch, which means it looks like it would be putting something into your body. That's not the case with any of these patches. So every patch that we mentioned today is not transdermal. It's basically activating certain peptides in our bodies that our bodies should naturally make. X39 specifically is activating a peptide called GHK copper peptide. And GHK copper peptide is a peptide that's responsible for a lot of our genes, basically. And it's also responsible for our stem cell production, and specifically pluripotent stem cells, which are stem cells that are able to turn into any cell our body needs. So as we age, typically this peptide decreases. By the time we're 30, I think we produce 60%. 40, we're maybe producing half. By the time we're 60, we're lucky if we produce 10% of our GHK copper peptide. And by the time we're 70, we produce none. Well, what these patches, the X39, are doing is it's reactivating that GHK copper peptide, and in turn, reactivating our stem cells that have gone dormant and making more pluripotent stem cells. Well, stem cells, especially the pluripotent, can turn into any cell our body needs. So whether it be a muscle cell, a blood cell, a brain cell, a heart cell, our bodies are the miracle, and they're so smart, and they prioritize what we need. And so these patches are a huge tool in assisting in that regulation and, optimization of our cells.
Awesome. I started out with the X39, and the first thing I noticed was I was sleeping better. So what happens when you sleep better? Your muscles repair, your body learns how to burn fat. It's just this whole reset and reduces the inflammation in your body. If you're not sleeping, all this stuff doesn't matter. So any clue into how you can improve your sleep is something that you should definitely focus on. And no one is exempt from needing 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So if you think you're a high functioning entrepreneur working off of 5 hours of sleep, you are very wrong. I'm sorry to say. So the X39 was a huge, that was one of the biggest things that I noticed right away was my sleep. So lastly, the carnosine patch. I actually had someone just text me today, is it okay to wear the carnosine patch every day because I just feel so good on it? And I said, yes, I wear it every day. Sometimes I do it at nighttime for the neuroprotection, but a lot of times I'll wear it during the day for my workouts and for the enhanced energy, endurance, and the ability to help with that body composition. So what are you seeing with the carnosine patch, Heather?
Carnosine, I used it before I used the X49 because it was out before the X49. And that's the patch I noticed the most significant change in my muscle composition. I feel like on the days that I'm working out and I, consistently am putting the carnosine on, that is what is helping increase. I mean, obviously, we're eating enough protein and all of that good stuff, but the carnosine really helps support that increase in muscle mass. And, over the last couple of years of using these patches, I have constantly gone up in muscle mass. So I do attribute it to carnosine. And then also just like the cognition that I noticed with that. And then it also aids in cardiac response as well. So I love the carnosine. I mean, for me, the X49 is amazing for hair and skin. I see it more there, even though I know it does help decrease fat and increase muscle. But I feel like the carnosine specifically, I notice more muscle with that.
So I love all of these things. And if you are overwhelmed with where do I start, just start with the X39, start with the supplements that we were talking about. But I want to talk now a little bit about diet, because none of this stuff matters if you're eating the wrong foods. I have had 2 vegans in my life, and they're friends and family, and they have been vegan, and I haven't touched it until they finally came to me and they said, one of them is someone, the lady I mentioned before, that is skinny fat, right? I said, all you need to do is just add in wild animal protein during your day. And we had to find 1 or 2 things that she could swallow, because it was more of a texture thing about her eating. It wasn't a religious thing or I'm hell-bent on being vegan. It was the texture. So we went through some different options to find her something that works for her, and it works. And guess what? In 2 weeks of being on the Ascent Diet Cleanse supplements, adding in some wild animal protein, she has lost 5 pounds. And this is someone that's in menopause. Second person on the Ascent Diet Cleanse supplements, starting to eat some of the wild animal protein. Why? Because she is truly anemic, has no energy, going through menopause, and is like, okay, I'm going to give up on this vegan thing because it's not working for me anymore. And she's seen a shift. So you want to focus on 1 gram or up to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of optimal lean body mass. So if you're a 150-pound woman, but you want to be 140 pounds, you are doing that calculation based on the 140 pounds. And that comes from wild fish, from deer, elk, bison, lamb, Cornish game hen, not the chickens and the poultry. And I go into why we want to stay away from those on my website. We don't have time to do that now, but these wild animal proteins also signal the hormone called CCK in the gut that tells the brain to suppress the appetite, and that, oh, I've had enough food, I'm good. Because did you know that this wild animal protein has all of the nutrients, or more of the nutrients, that you think you're getting from the vegetables, but our soils are so depleted, our vegetables are not providing that anymore. So it's really important to focus on that wild animal protein. That's going to sustain your muscle mass and let your body burn its own fat. And it also improves the insulin to glucagon ratio. And you're hearing about Ozempic. Ozempic plays with the insulin and glucagon hormones. Okay, so just by eating wild animal protein, just by breaking your fast with a serving of lean wild animal protein, you're improving that insulin to glucagon ratio, which is increasing your fat burning on top of intermittent fasting. So that's just a little hack if you are on a plateau. And then you've got the oxalates that are found in spinach and kale, almonds, chocolate, berries, turmeric. Those can cause a slow thyroid, Hashimoto's, arthritis, joint pain, and more. They disrupt the detox pathways, leading to fat gain, water retention, and osteoporosis. All three things that we do not want when we're looking at body composition. You've got the sulfur vegetables. These are the healthy cabbage, egg yolks, onions, garlic, broccoli. They back up the liver, leading to increased toxicity, slowing down the metabolism, increasing hypothyroidism, increasing the estrogens in the body, water retention, and fat gain. So these are things also that could affect your body composition. You could be eating too much fat for what your body can break down because your liver is functioning suboptimally. That's where the liver flush comes in, where then maybe you can eat more of the sulfur foods. And the sulfur foods are the garlic and onions, the fats that are coming with, in the ketogenic world. They're saying dump on a ton of fat on your diet or on your steaks and your vegetables, and it's great for you. Maybe not. For me, I have to be careful with eating too much fat. The seed oils can create inflammation in the body that can last over a year. The canola oil, peanut oil, all of those oils are really inflammatory to your body, causing the extracellular water to increase. Rice bran oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil, these are the ones to stay away from. You want to lift heavy weights. We've talked about lifting heavy weights. That is going to increase lean muscle tone, burn the body fat, strengthen the bone density, and helps with water retention as well. And you will burn more calories after your workout when you lift heavy weights versus doing chronic cardio. Chronic cardio is going to possibly make you skinny fat and lower your metabolic rate. So especially as we get older, we want to get away from the chronic cardio, focus on more heavy weights and the HIIT training, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. You've got sleep that we mentioned about. We need to use our sleep as a huge tool to reduce inflammation, building that lean muscle and the bone, and burning the body fat. So Heather, any other tips that I've lost in the last minute that we have?
You're always so good, Sarah. I think you covered everything. I know we talk about our Aura rings and being able to quantify sleep. That's been a huge tool for me as well, especially as I'm integrating certain things like the patches or different supplements to see where my deep sleep is, because that's my restorative sleep, and to see where my REM sleep is. We're finding out more and more how important REM sleep is. And there are people with certain disorders that don't get enough REM sleep. And these are also people that down the road might get certain diagnoses like dementia. And so to be able to keep track on that and quantify it is really important as you're starting to implement some of these lifestyle changes and products, technologies, all that good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And before we go, where can people find you?
We are in Newport Beach, but I'm available. I work with people for consulting and distribution of technologies all over the world. You can go to our website at ascentadaptation.com, and then we're also on Instagram at AscentAdapt, and then Facebook at Ascent Adaptation. So please reach out if you have any questions.
Check Heather out. All of her technologies are amazing. She is my guru. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for joining us today. If you have any health issues, you can contact me directly through the website, SaraBantaHealth.com. I'm happy to put together a protocol for you. And join the free group coaching below. It is on Telegram and it's uncensored. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health. And you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey. The protocols and supplements we discussed are all found at SaraBantaHealth.com. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and over 100 channels under Accelerated Health TV and radio show, including Stitcher, Pandora, iTunes, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. If you like what you heard today, please share and hit the subscribe button. Share with a few of your friends. There's so many people that need to hear our message today on body composition. And I am here every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific live. You can use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here on Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. Have a great week. Thanks, Heather.
Bye. Thanks, Sarah.